I'm back. Did y'all miss me? I sure missed you all. Oh, it feels good to be back after not making a video in almost 6 months to a year. That's one of my New Year's resolution to finally be more, guess more productive on YouTube. But hopefully this does justice. So I thought it'd be kind of a cool idea since I'm back on YouTube to do kind of a video that I sort of did like a year ago of going through my Discogs and sort of I guess finding out my most expensive CDs in my collection. Being that I did this almost a year ago, my collection has grown exponentially a lot. I mean, if you guys follow me on Instagram, and if you haven't followed my Instagram, go follow me on Instagram. I would really appreciate it. But I went through my whole Discogs, and I picked the 15 most expensive CDs in my collection according to Discogs. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. So, at number 15, we have D-Side's Once Upon a Cross. This is the third studio album, of course. D-Side, one of the legendary death metal bands on the Florida scene. Which, of course, this is the third studio album. We have songs like, of course, Once Upon a Cross, English motherfucker, Once Upon a Cross, Kill the Christians, forgetting the name of the same of the songs, Christian Denied, and so many other good tracks. The thing I like about this album is that at this point, after the subtitle and Legion, what more can you do from this side? And of course, being that this was the first album that actually got me into this side, I had to get it. And also, this comes with the alternative album cover, which I actually did a video on my controversial album cover series talking about it. And yeah, just a really great album. And according to Discogs, this goes for a whopping amount $49.45, which is kind of crazy to think because I think I paid $20 for it, 24 around it. I remember thinking I got this like a year ago, which is kind of crazy to think. And I also forgot to mention, I'm gonna be mentioning the max amount of each album that I have in my collection to kind of, I guess, make it more easier on myself. But yeah, $49.45. This album goes according in my collection according to Discogs. Coming in at number 14, we have the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Are You Experience? This is the first debut album by this psychedelic, classic rock band. Of course, mimics of course, British and American. Of course, it's Jimi Hendrix, one of, if not the greatest guitarists to ever live. Of course, you got songs like Purple Haze, Hey Joe, Foxy Lady, Lover Confusion. And it's one of those psychedelic albums from the late 60s that is still, to this day, I hear a lot on classic radio. And when I got this back in June when I went to Houston for a record shop, I was looking for some Jimi Hendrix, which I didn't have in the collection at the time. And I think I bought a used actually, so I had to like change the jewel case and put it in a new case, which makes it all clean and shiny. So for some reason, which is crazy to think, that my copy, and on Discogs alone right now, it goes for a whopping $49.97. So not a completely jump from Dayside to Hendrix, but still. And now you can easily buy on eBay or on Amazon for like 15, or if you go to a record shop for like maybe like $5, or some thrift stores you can even find some albums for $2. This goes for almost $50, which is crazy to think that sometimes some um vendors, some sellers, they overprice a lot of albums, which I gotta say the majority of the albums in my collection and on this list, there's some that I do see why it's being overpriced. Some I'm like, why are they this expensive? Like this one, I mean, come on, this should not be close to $50. You can easily find this album for $5. At least $5. But again, for some reason, this is $49.97. But again, great album. And if you haven't listened to Hendrix, what are you doing? To listen to Hendrix now. I mean, like, right now. Go. Coming in at number 13, we have Ghost Prequel. This is the fourth studio album, but of course, the band from Sweden. Of course, at the time, Ghost was becoming really big, and this was the first album that Tobias kind of took control more of the band, and with the whole lawsuit and all that, what have you. Of course, the two big songs from the album, personally for me, are Rats and Fate. But as time has gone on, songs like Life Eternal, Pro Memoria, even some of the songs like which Imagine kind of became big along the road, and has made Ghost a more popular band for non-metalheads to kind of get into Ghost and kind of go into this rabbit hole. And the thing I like about this edition of the album is it has the articulate album cover. I don't know if the camera does it justice, but I can easily remove the freaking, I guess the freaking thing just to show you guys. If I can, like, it has a little thing magic, which I kind of like, and of course comes with the regular sleeve. But I like to keep them both in the album because I think it's kind of cool. I don't remember when I got the album. I think I got it maybe somewhere around the release date, back in like, oh god, like back in like 2018, or was it 2018 when this album came out? Yeah, 2018, around there. And as time goes on, it has become one of my personal favorites. I know for a lot of people, I know when we did the Horseman podcast with the albums of the year for 2018, it wasn't really that much loved as it should have been. If y'all know, you know. But according to Discogs, this album goes for a whopping $49.99. Again, it should not be that expensive. You can easily find it on the record shop. Again, I the other day I was looking for some Ghost albums I mentioned in my collection. I actually found this one on eBay for like $20. So again, I don't know what the marketing and how people in Discogs trying to put their numbers, but again, $49.99 seems kind of ridiculous. But I mean, there's some people who are desperate to buy some albums, so if you got the money, go for it. But I think you should wait sometimes. But yeah, I mean, great album. You ever listen to Ghost? Probably listen to something like Meliorio or Infestium to kind of get your feet wet with Ghost, and after they can listen to the rest, and you can just by yourself. But yeah, Ghost Prequel. Now at number 12, we have an album that it took me years to find, and I was finally able to find it after the longest time. And I'm talking about X Japan's Art of Life. This is the fourth studio album by these Japanese speed metal, glam metal, symphonic metal, whatever you want to call these guys. If y'all know me, you know I'm a huge X Japan fan. In terms of like Japanese metal alongside Anthem, Loudness, Direngre, X Japan is one of those bands. When you think of Japanese metal or J-rock, these are one of the first bands that always pop out. And of course, this album, when I heard that they did a 130-minute masterpiece all those years ago, I was like, there's no way that they were able to do this in one song. And when the first time I listened to it, I was so amazed that I think I listened to that song, I think like 10 times that day, because it was such a beautiful song. And to this day, it's one of those songs that I listen to religiously, and it's probably my favorite X Japan song / album, because it's only one song in the album, which is kind of amazing that they were able to pull it out back in 1993. And of course, they only released this album in Japan on CD in 93. I don't think they ever released a vinyl edition of the album. I think the vinyl, if they did, I think it's even rarer than the CD. And of course, when this album was released, of course, it comes with the album, which again, the beautiful album artwork by Yoshiki in the front. Of course, you got everything like that. And of course, this edition actually came with an extra goodie, which is the booklet. It comes with some pictures, and of course has the lyrics in both Japanese and English, which is kind of amazing, because when I bought the album originally on Amazon, I think I bought this like 5 years ago, I was only expecting the album to come out. I didn't expect also this to come out. And I did some research, and it was all sold like this with the little IBM string that a lot of Japanese albums have. Unfortunately, this one didn't have it, which is a shame, but you know what? I have the album in my collection. So according to Discogs, this album goes for $50, which is not a really crazy price, being that this was only released in '93 on CD. Of course, you're talking about close to 30 plus years. Is it 30 years around there? Yeah, close to 30 plus years this album was released, and it's still sought after. Ex Japan fans, J Rock fans, people who really love Japanese music. So if you're able to snatch this album for a really good, decent price, go for it. So for $50 on Discogs, I think it's not unreasonable for someone to pay that amount. And again, I think I bought it for like $30 from Japan. I think it took me like a couple of months for it to arrive to my house, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those albums that I think once you get it, it's one of those holy grails. And I think it was actually my number one when I did this video like a year ago. I could be wrong. I might have to check it, but yeah, if you haven't listened to X Japan, if you like long epic songs, listen to Art of Life. You will not be disappointed. Coming in at number 11, we have Cannibal Corpse's Vile. This is the fifth studio album by, of course, the legendary death metal band, originally from New York, later residing in Florida. I don't have to explain yourself who Cannibal Corpse are. If you're a huge death metal fan, you should know them. But yeah, of course, this being that I was in a big Cannibal Corpse kind of phase back in 2022, I was on the hunt in getting all of the Cannibal Corpse albums. I think I'm missing maybe one or two albums that didn't complete the entire discography. But the one album I wanted to get the most was Vile. And I wanted to get the one with the full-on album artwork, because later artworks only have zoomed in on the face. They don't have the full-on artwork with the genitalia. And I think it's one of those albums that, yeah, of course, it was the introduction of George Grinder Fisher into the band with the song Divide by Room, with that humongous scream that he does at the beginning of the album. And of course, I was able to see Cannibal live, and I was nice enough to meet Alex Webster, and he was able to sign my copy. And I think I bought this album on eBay for, I think it was $25 or $30. So one of the most expensive albums that I bought. But according to Discogs, without the signature, this goes for a whopping $52.62. I don't know, maybe with the signature, maybe it will be add up in value. I don't know. But in terms of Cannibal fans are willing to buy anything Cannibal related. So it's not out of the price range, and a huge Cannibal fan will actually buy it. But if you're not willing to spend, $52.62 on the original album, or where you can easily get the alternative versions that have come in. But me being that I wanted the full artwork, I spent close to $30. But it's one of those albums that it's one of my most prized possessions in my collection. And yeah, I mean, $50.62 is what's going for on Discogs.
Now we're up at the top 10. So at number 10, we had Flotsam and Jetsam's Doomsday of the Deceiver. This is, of course, the first studio album by these legendary thrash band from California. Of course, this was the band that a young Jason Newsted started and eventually went on to go into Metallica. And, as one of those, Flotsam and Jetsam doesn't get the recognition that they should get, because they're one of the most underrated thrash bands of the 80s. This was released in 86. I think it was maybe 3 months after Master of Puppets came out. So Master of Puppets gets the more recognition that Doomsday of the Deceiver. And I gotta say, Doomsday of the Deceiver has one of the coolest album artworks. Is this demon or beast kind of beating the living crap out of I've always said that this reminds me of the devil of the Number of the Beast. I might be the only one who thinks of that. And I think I got this on my local second in Charles, when we had the local second in Charles, for like $3. It was a used copy. It was in great condition. I mean, it played well. And according to Discogs, which this is one of the most craziest albums that's going on Discogs. I don't know why, for some reason, but according to Discogs, this is going for $54.35. Now you're starting to see the price in some albums that are kind of ridiculous. I don't know how the price range on Discogs works. I don't want to know, but no one should pay $54 for an album you can easily find for like $10 on Amazon. Like I mentioned in some of the previous mentions, some albums are worth that money, some aren't. I'm sorry, but this is not worth the whopping $54. Maybe the one that's worth $54 is signed by the entire band. I could be wrong, but again, $54.35. This one's going on Discogs, and this is one of the most surprising albums that actually was kind of amazed it's going for that amount of price. I thought it would be like 20 tops. But yeah, I mean, Flotsam and Jetsam, you ever listen to Flotsam and Jetsam? Give them a listen.
At number 9, we have Agalok, The Mantle. If you all know me, you know this is one of my absolute favorite albums of all time. Of course, we did an entire video on the Horseman podcast talking about the album and the impact it had in the 2000s. Of course, black metal, shoegaze, um, alternative, a mixed bag of a lot of sounds that make the man to one of the most important and influential albums of the 2000s. The copy that actually I have is one of the end records, so it's one of the original pressings of the album, and it's one of the most beautiful albums that you're gonna find because I like everything. Even I don't know if the camera does it justice, but it kind of has this kind of material that makes the sleeve kind of like amazing, has the pictures and all that. And this is one of those albums that it took me a while to actually find a decent copy until one day I was going on eBay. And I think this was one of the first expensive albums I was able to actually buy out of pocket. I think I bought it for like $30 back when, like, in 2020. And I think when I did this video a year ago, this was like in my top 5 or maybe the top 2 uh, that time ago. So right now, if I were to sell it on Discogs, it goes for $54.99. Now, being that Agalok sort of has been coming back doing shows over the years, I do see why the price kind of went up. Because I think when I did this video a year ago, I think it was going for the amount that I actually bought it for, like $30. But, being that Agalok came back, started doing shows, with the rumor going on that I might release another album, of course the hype is there. People are buying Agalok albums left and right. So I do see the hype for Agalok, and one of those bands that one of these days, hopefully, I get to see live. And yeah, if you have not listened to The Mantle, you do yourself a favor. You will experience something you will never experience before, especially in the Shadow of Pale Companion. And Upset, all hell Agalok. At number 8, yep, we have Ángeles del Infierno with Pacto con el Diablo. This is the first studio album by the Spanish classic heavy metal band. Pretty much the Spanish version from Spain of Judas Priest. That's like the best way I could describe them. And I've been a fan of these guys since I think I listened to them back in like around the same time that I actually discovered Priest, or maybe afterwards. I don't remember, but anyway, I've been a fan of these guys, being that they sing in Spanish, and of course being Mexican. Of course, right away I gravitated against these guys, and again, this was released in '84. I think in the summer of '84, around there in Spain. And for the longest time, I've been trying to find a decent copy, and I could not, for the life of me, find it until I was able to get on eBay, just going through eBay, and I was able to find a copy. And now on Discogs, which I think by this point on, we started getting some of the crazier numbers. So on Discogs, this goes for a whopping $56.31. If you if you've been kind of keeping track of all the prices going up and up from like $49 to $50, now it's going from like $2 increase, a dollar increase, to like $3 to $4 increase. So now we're starting to see the big numbers, even though there's some other big numbers later on. But yeah, $56.31 for Pacto con el Diablo. I think I paid half of it. I think I paid like $25 for it. And of course, songs like Maldito Sea Tu Nombre, Sombras en la Oscuridad, Roque. Great songs that if you're not familiar with the Spain scene or like Latino, not really Latino, but like European Spanish music, listen to Ángeles del Infierno. It's pretty much like I said, Judas Priest, but in Spanish. So give it a listen. Coming in at number 7, we have Vader with De Profundis. This is the second studio album from these legendary Polish Black and death metal, what they want to call them. Of course, a big influence on Polish metal in the metal scene. Of course, a big influence on Behemoth later on. It took me a while to get into Vader, actually. I think it was the same day. Actually, yeah, it was the same day that I bought Fatima Jensen's Doomsday Deceiver. I think this was also in that pile. I think I bought it for like $3, which was a good deal, and I actually became a fan of Vader. And as I've gotten more, listening to more Vader along the years, I've realized that this is probably their magnum opus, so to say, one of their best albums in the entire discography. Incarnation's really great. Of Moon, Blood, Dream, and Me, amazing. And it's one of those bands that I've been wanting to check out live. Hopefully, I can do that in the future. But according to Discogs, now this is where we get into the crazier numbers. This goes for $65.21. I've said this a billion times in this video. I don't know how the hell the market tactics work on Discogs. Something happened. I don't know what the hell. It's out of print. Again, I know this was released in 1995, and this is not the 1995 pressing, but still, $65.21 for an album like this. I think for that kind of money, I can buy a 15, 16 piece, a 16 piece on freaking Popeyes and feed the whole entire family with the combo meal. But this is where we get into the crazier numbers on Discogs, and I would not pay $65 for this, honestly. I mean, if it was autographed, that's a different case, but I don't know, man. If you have the money, go for it, but if you live in a tight budget, pick your battles. But yeah, I mean, amazing album, crazy number, but listen to it, it's amazing. Coming in at number 6, we have Necrotic Wasteland with the self-doubt debut, Necrotic Wasteland. This was released around 2014. I actually got the opportunity to see Necrotic Wasteland when they came in last year to my hometown to do a show, and I didn't know at the time that this was Dallas Total Waste's band after he left Nile. So I was like, hey, he's a former member of Nile. Of course I'm gonna go see him. And before I actually went and actually saw them live, I started to listen to their material, their 2 albums that I actually have released, and talks about drugs and addiction and all that stuff. And it's kind of a bit of a cool concept in death metal. Well, not even death metal. They really consider death metal around there. But yeah, I mean, I met him. I bought both the albums for like $20 each. He was nice enough to sign both of them. I think he even was nice enough to sign my freaking Nile albums. But on Discogs, this goes for $80, which is crazy. And I think even Dallas told me that they're kind of getting hard to find the first 2 albums now, since they haven't been repressed. I think the ones that he sold on tour were like the last batch of albums that he had left. So for a reason, it's $80. Hopefully they re-release them and the price goes down. But $80, holy shit! And especially since Dallas himself signed it, maybe it could be worth up in value. But if you're not listening to Necrotic Wasteland, give them a listen. Kind of different in terms of like subject matter, kind of touchy, but pretty good material. Now we're up onto the top 5, and you thought those numbers before were crazier. Now we're gonna get into even crazier numbers. So at number 5, we have Disembowelments Transcends the Peripheral. This is the first and only studio album by these Australian Death Doom masters. So the thing about Death Doom is that sometimes some of the albums are one and done miss. Of course, one of the perfect examples is Into Darkness, which I actually thought was gonna be on this list. Maybe top 20, top 30, but surprisingly not. So again, this is one of those albums that took me the longest to find as well. It took me a couple of years. I will always see it on vinyl, but it was never available on CD for many reasons. I mean, For one, this was released in 1993, around the same year that X Japan's Art Alive was released, as I previously mentioned. So, again, one and done of the Steph Doom guys, and I mentioned this is just probably one of, if not the greatest Steph Doom album of all time. I'll die on that hill. And I bought this album for, I think this was around $30 as well, I think like a couple of years ago. And on Discogs, it's going for $92.78. Like I mentioned before, adding that this was released in 1993, it hasn't had a re-release. Maybe it has, maybe a couple re-releases in previous years, but hasn't been re-released as of late. Has been only been on vinyl in a couple of reissues. Being that this is the only album that these guys ever released in their entire career, you add all up, of course it's gonna be very expensive. Um, $92.78 expense of it is kind of nuts, but yeah, I mean, I mentioned before, the greatest Def Doom album of all time. Everything you want in Def Doom, may it be the more melodic atmospheric Def Doom or the guttural evil Def Doom, you have it everything right here. I know a lot of people like my buddy Lira say that Aspect's Class 100 is the greatest Def Doom album of all time. It's up there, but I'm sorry, but these guys beat The Last One on Earth in a heartbeat. If you haven't listened to this embodiment, listen to it. You will see why this is the greatest Def Doom album of all time, even crossing to Funeral Doom. But yep, that's it. That's about it. Coming in at number 4, shockingly, which is one of those albums that I can't believe is this expensive, we have Alice in Chains' second EP, Jar of Flies. Now, when I was going through this list, I was like, "There's no way this album is really up high." And if you have listened to Alice in Chains, I mean, what are you doing here? But I mean, in terms of like Alice in Chains, I mean, it's one of the most amazing albums. I mean, just look at the packaging, so amazing and beautiful. But I don't understand for the life of me why this album is expensive. I bought this at Molecules Like It in Charles. I bought it for $2, which is something that not, which is a pretty good deal actually. Alice in Chains for $2, great condition, playable condition, over the moon. When I was doing this list, this album was at the very bottom like last year. Now, for some odd reason, this album on Discogs costs $99.99. So pretty much $100. I don't know what the hell is special about this edition. I don't know what it is that makes collectors go crazy and spend $100 for this version of the album. I have no idea. But again, you should not spend $100. Is this signed by the entire band, and especially if it's signed by Lane? Okay, probably $100 wouldn't make the difference, but just for this, what the hell, man? Again, now we're going to the crazy numbers. But again, Jar of Flies, amazing EP, not worth $100. I'm sorry, but this is not worth $100. The only exception if it's signed by the entire band, especially with Lane's signature is on the album, that's the only exception. But just go to eBay. You can easily find a copy for like $5. I mean, come on, don't spend $100. No, just no. Now we're into the top 3. Now these next 3 selections are some of the craziest numbers I can think of, because it's amazing what people are willing to pay for these albums. So at number 3, we have Decompose, Hope Finally Died. This is the first and only studio album by these British Def Doom band, which it's kind of thing that this was released in 1993 on Catalyte Records, around the same time that the Def Doom movement with bands like My Dying Bride and Paradise Lost, maybe Anathema, Catatonia, even though some of them aren't really British, but pretty much some of the Peaceful 3 kind of bands mixed with Decompose, they were almost getting into this movement of Def Doom, and for some reason, this band did not make it as, Paradise Lost and My Dying Bride for some odd reason. Now, over the years, this has become sort of like a holy grail when it comes to like Def Doom collectors, Def Doom listeners like myself. I bought this album, I think, like in 2020 for, I think it was $20, which was kind of fitting because being that it was an album that was released in 1993, and I was like, it's gonna be iffy, the condition's gonna be bad, it's probably like a bootleg, and actually, it's not really a bootleg. It's a really good condition album. I mean, the cover is great. The CD's not even scratched. I know later on they released an edition. I think later on they released a re-release of the album around the same time. Actually, no. I think like a couple of years later, recently they released a re-release of the album, which is kind of when the price went down. But for my edition of the album, one of the original, um, I guess original pressings of the album, this goes on Discogs for $108.70. Now you see why the market on Discogs is kind of iffy. There's some albums that you think, oh, these are probably expensive, but they're not. And there's some albums that are really should not be expensive, but they are. This is one of the albums that I do see being expensive, and for good reason. So if you're a Deftoon collector, Deftoon especially like myself, this is one of the holy grails, and I was really happy having it in the collection. But $108.70. Just wait for the re-release. I know sometimes they do make re-releases and lower the price down, so I'd rather you just wait. But if you have not listened to this band, listen to the songs again. Kind of in the same realm of My Dying Bride and My Paradise Lost. Great debut. Now we're at the top two, and at number two, it is an album. Actually, I could consider it an album. It's more of a demo slash EP that a lot of people in the Deftoon community never thought was ever gonna be released on CD. Until one day, Savage Records, who has been releasing a lot of great albums, finally released this EP slash demo a couple of years ago, and I was finally able to snatch my copy. Of course, I'm talking about Ripicolio with Mustafa Ceremonia. Ripicolio is a Deftoon band that was formed in the early 90s in Finland. Of course, Finland has been notable for a lot of Deftoon bands like Hooded Man and His Follow the Sun. So Ripicolio is one of the godfathers of the, I guess, the uh, Finnish Deftoon scene, just around there. So I bought this for, I think it was $13, which is like 12 euros back then. And on Discogs, this is the craziest part. On Discogs, this is going for $141.30. I don't know what the hell happened between the time I bought it and this went up in price. I know that Ripicolio sorta came back, so the hype was real, but you can easily buy a copy on Savant Records for an eighth of that, a tenth of that. You'd have to break the bank to buy this on freaking Discogs. Maybe it's signed by the band, probably, but come on, not even that. The packaging is great. You have the lyrics, you have some information about the band, you have everything, but $141.30 for this album you can easily buy on Savant Records for 12 euros. Sure, if you're in the States, it's gonna take a while for it to come here, but it's better for you to wait than buy it for $141. Just saying, but still. Ripicolio, again, one of those underground Deftoon masterpieces you gotta find, which is kind of fitting. It was also released in 1993. Again, the same year, Disembowelment, Decompose, Winter, X Japan. I mean, what the hell's going on in 1993? And I was raised during that time where they're like fucking a mine of freaking gems, freaking treasure hunt. What the hell? But again, just get on Tabata Records, get this album. You will not be disappointed. Now we've come to my number one. Now, I was actually shocked that this album in my collection is worth this much. If you were a betting man, you would have thought an album like maybe like Swallow Sun or maybe like Ripicolio would have been number one, or even something like X Japan would have been number one. Which, if I were years ago, that would have been the case. I mean, a year ago, Pink Floyd's For Some Reason The Wall was my most expensive album. I didn't do that at the time. So according to Discogs, this album, which was a gift given to me by Mr. Scott Reacts, which you should follow me on Instagram and on his YouTube channel. Great content, by the way. According to Discogs, this is the most expensive album in my collection. It's not Agalog, it's not X Japan, it's not Ripicolio, it's not Decomposed. It's Pantera's Far Beyond Driven. Yep, you heard me right. According to Discogs, in my collection, this album right here is the most expensive album in my collection. You can easily get this album in a record shop, on eBay, and on Amazon for 5 to 10, 20 bucks tops. According to Discogs, this album right here that I'm holding in my hands is worth $160. You heard me right. $160. I don't know what the hell is going on with the Discogs market, but this is insane. Unless the album is signed by the Abbott brothers, Rex, and Phil, that will probably be my guess, but this should not be worth $160. Great songs though. I mean, you got the Black Sabbath cover, Pat Caravan, I'm Broken, 5 Minutes Alone, 25 Years. The riffs on this album is amazing. The album cover is amazing. Of course, I did a video on the original, supposed to be album cover on my controversial cover series, but yeah, $160. Yeah, I'm as shocked as you are. But amazing album, not worth $160. Again, you can easily find it on record shops, eBay, Amazon for a 12th of that. So yeah, according to Discogs, this is my most expensive album in my collection. So that pretty much is gonna wrap up this video. Thank you all so much for watching the video and staying to the very end. Was really fun and kind of shocking to do this video and seeing how some of these albums that I have in my collection are kind of expensive and kind of aren't. Kind of shows you how Discogs market is kind of weird and odd. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. Again, most of the albums in my collection you can easily buy elsewhere for a fair amount. You don't have to break the bank. And let me know down in the comments what's your most expensive albums in your collection. I would really like to know. But thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, everyone. And until next time, stay metal.